So often, we are reminded to avail ourselves for medical screening, be it a colonoscopy when we turn 45, or a mammogram when we turn 50, or we are reminded about getting our flu shots or other vaccines. But how often are we reminded to avail ourselves for screenings for depression or anxiety or other mental health illnesses? We live in a very fast paced life. We're expected to perform and even exceed in our various roles, be it as a student, a parent, a spouse. In any of these roles we assume, and most times this is multiple, there's a minimum standard that's expected. Now, in keeping up with these minimum standards as defined by the society or the culture, there could be a creation of anxiety, especially when the task becomes overwhelming. Now, over time, this could accumulate into mental illnesses. In the ever demanding world in which we live in, it is very crucial that we're able to have and maintain a healthy mental state necessary for the way we relate with ourselves and those around us, and in determining the choices we make. And so I'm going to be talking about 10 tips that could help us to achieve a work-life balance and a healthy mental state. Hi, I'm Dr. Francisca Osage, and thank you for joining me on Francisca on Health Matters. So tip number 1, know you. Appreciate your strengths, but at the same time admit your deficits. Now, we all admire certain traits or attributes of certain people. It could be their art skills or their physical attributes. But recognize that we all have certain unique traits or attributes, and which, when we recognize and put to use, could really be of an advantage. It could mean the meticulous person being a surgeon, or someone very friendly and outgoing being a marketer, or someone being shy and introspective being a great writer or philosopher. Recognize we all have these unique traits, which, when put to use, can really be of an advantage. At the same time, let's admit a tolerance threshold. The level at which we start feeling overwhelmed is the level we get to at threshold. Tip number 1, know you. Then tip number 2, define your roles. Now, apart from you as an individual, how does your role and duty relate to others? Are you a parent, a student, a spouse, a working colleague, a business owner? And most times we play multiple roles. So it is important to define our roles. Tip number 2, define your role. Tip number 3, identify your expectations or goals. Now, having defined your roles, it is important you know what the expectations are or a goal to be attained. And this varies. For instance, if you're a parent, this will depend on the ages of your children. So being able to identify the expectation will help to the next tip, which is in executing your expectations or goals. Tip number 4. So tip number 4, a well thought execution of duties or goals. Now, this is going to involve a great level of consciousness, or what I call intentionality. However, this will go a long way to minimize stress. This, however, is going to be approached through various steps. So what are these steps? Now, the first step is prioritizing, especially when you assume multiple roles and duties. It might be necessary to prioritize the most important, but at times it might also be necessary to prioritize that which is attached to a goal and can be achieved in a short amount of time. For instance, if you're taking a 3-month course in order to attain a certificate, it might be worthwhile just focusing on that course and getting it out of the way. So, prioritizing. The next step is seeking extra help or assistance. For example, if you're a parent to older children or teens, it might be helpful to allocate age-appropriate home responsibilities, or making arrangements with a friend to taking turns to picking up kids from school, especially if your kids attend the same school, or working as a group with people of common interests. For example, a study group, getting study partners, mom groups. And the next step is seeking mentorship. Seeking the advice or experience of someone who has successfully been through a process, and this could help to guide you through a process with relative ease. Now, tip number 5 will involve reevaluation, and this will mean periodically assessing that which we're involved in. What is our approach? What are the outcomes? What are our challenges? And it might also mean taking out time to see on ways which we can improve on our approaches. So tip number 5, reevaluation. Tip number 6, taking time off. Taking time off to unwind. It is necessary, it is essential for restoration. It might mean taking time off, going on a vacation, or even spending time home with the family, especially if you're often away from family. You get back to routine with a lot of vigor, zeal, and focus. Tip number 6, taking time off. Tip number 7, adopting a healthy lifestyle. Now we tend to compromise on this a little bit, especially because the effects are not immediate. But overall, its toll on mental health can be very impactful. There are certain habits such as our sleep patterns, our way of eating, a lack of physical activity that will eventually take its toll. So it's important we recognize the importance of these. We get habits of eating healthy, incorporating essential vitamins and minerals to our diets, engaging in exercises, and having adequate sleep. This will reduce fatigue and irritability. So it's important we adopt a healthy lifestyle, and don't forget the importance of taking good amounts of water daily. Tip number 7, adopting healthy lifestyle. Tip number 8, avoiding or reducing or restricting our exposure to certain situations causing stressful emotions. Now at times this might be inevitable, like working in certain environmental conditions or associating with certain people. Now, when possible, address the situations, and when this can't happen, restrict as much as possible. So tip number 8, avoiding certain stressful situations. Tip number 9, maintaining healthy relationships. It's also very important to recognize friends and family who are truly supportive. They provide a very stable environment, especially when we are stressed. They come as comforts and supports. So it is important to recognize healthy relationships and restrict stressful associations. And tip number 10, celebrate. This is a very essential therapy to elevate your mood. It is very important to recognize and celebrate every win, milestone, achievement. Don't undermine every stage of win. Celebrate every achievement. So there you go. I hope this helps you in finding your balance and attaining an optimum mental well-being. Again, I hope you found this informative and educative, and if you've had, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.